Okay, we're live. All right, so I'll say my thing first.
Okay.
I think that um, almost any deal we could make will be a great deal for Keurig because they have this great idea and patented system, and it's going to be huge. Everyone's excited about it, and they really are leaning on us a lot to get going with their R&D and their distribution and their coffee, which we're kind of insisting you lean on us for because um, why try and do your own coffee brand at the same time? You should just keep it simple. So we want Keurig to succeed because it's just another, like, even if we don't have a long-term partnership with you guys, it's just going to be another channel for us to sell our coffee through. So any long-term, any more channels that we can sell coffee through are good for us. But in the short term, we're really doing a lot for you guys with the distribution and the R&D, and providing you a good coffee brand in the short term. We acknowledge the deal said I should try and push for a exclusive deal, and I think that's dumb. I don't think that's in Keurig's best interest. I think that would only make sense in the really short term, like if we said we'll do an exclusive deal until we get our money back or until
Mm-hmm.
that point. But I think we both know Keurig is going to expand to other brands and other drinks, and so that's fine. But from Green Mountain's perspective, we just want to be compensated somehow for the way that we're helping you get off the ground, because I think that our role is big. So whether that takes the form of a royalty or a smaller royalty and help on in the upfront distribution investment, or an exclusive deal until a certain point, whatever, that's fine. But I think Green Mountain needs some kind of incentive to help you guys in the short term because we know this. Unless one of us acquires the other, it's not a long term deal.
Yeah. Um, so with like the information I have, I think there's like I think like for both parties to be happy, um, Keurig would benefit from a short-term exclusive rights.
Mm-hmm.
And you guys are gonna produce it instead of us producing everything and then paying you guys a small royalty for your coffee. You guys can produce everything and pay us a royalty for the product that we've developed and like our patent and technology uh and something. Sorry, I am still sick from traveling.
Uh,
Um so like my brain is I'm looking at my notes. Um so the idea would be like ideally for us to save us costs, we provide you guys exclusive rights. You guys produce your own K cups. You guys produce your coffee. We help get it to distributors so that your coffee is what we're sending out with our distributors. And then we're paid a royalty for each K cup that you guys are essentially making with your coffee instead of us paying for everything and paying you a small royalty for your coffee. And that allows you guys to have the exclusive rights.
gotcha. Okay.
Normally I could argue this a lot better, but like my notes are like scattered all over this thing. And like I didn't get to kind of formulate my argument beforehand, but I think by like I also know what happens to Keurig and Green Mountain, so it's kind of hard to be like unbiased in this. It's kind of like some of the other companies we've dealt with. They're names that I know well enough because like
Yeah.
uh, that I know what happens with this deal that it's hard to. Yeah, I don't know, to not like tell you this is what's gonna happen. Because I know what happens with this deal.
Tell me. I tried to look it up, but I didn't.
Okay, so
Grab my charger.
Okay.
Go ahead. I can hear you.
Okay, so Green Mountain Coffee, because they were invested from the get-go, right? Like they helped Keurig with like the kickstart and everything. And so Keurig really ultimately, for cost-wise, did not want to produce all the K-cups. And they knew that going to other coffee vendors would essentially, like, they knew their patents would expire, and they knew that going to other coffee companies and trying to teach, like, sell them on this was not going to be very profitable. And so they knew that, like, partnering and giving exclusive rights to Green Mountain was going to help their company. And they financially did not have enough money to keep functioning for much longer. And so, and Green Mountain wanted that exclusive right.
Yeah.
And so, what actually ends up happening is Green Mountain does produce all the K cups, and they pay a small royalty to Keurig. And over a process of several years, they continue to buy stock and equity until they essentially bought out the company, and it becomes Keurig Green Mountain.
Yeah.
And then refers to, or is like, everything comes under that Keurig name.
Yeah.
So that's ultimately what ends up happening. And the only reason I knew that, sorry, was when I was at AT&T, one of the guys was like, guys, Keurig's like the coolest thing. And like everybody that drank coffee in the office pitched in to buy this like fancy Keurig. And this was like, geez, I don't know how many years ago. It was a while ago. It was before my daughter was born. So we're at least talking like 5 or 6 years. And I think this is like 8 years ago, somewhere in there. Anyways, so they bought this Keurig, and he was like, "Do you know about this company?" And he was studying business at the school there, and they had talked about it in his business class, and they went over like how Keurig came to be like this giant conglomeration, and essentially Keurig gets paid. It's like less than 10 cents a K cup. But when you do the math of like how many K cups are sold a year, they still end up making like hundreds of millions of dollars, and
Yeah.
they make, it's like pennies on the K cup. Like it's small royalty.
Yeah. So Green Mountain produced the K cups
Mm-hmm.
and sells them to Keurig, or they do the whole packaging.
They do the whole thing. Everything is packaged through Green Mountain,
And
and
then Keurig takes a royalty.
mm-hmm. And it's essentially a royalty for exclusive rights and the patent. Because without the patent at the time, Green Mountain couldn't produce it. And like since then, their patent, we're talking a patent in the 90s, and so since then, it's their patents expired. Like the main one, and that's why there's everybody has K cups that aren't Keurig cups.
Yeah.
And but over several years, Green Mountain eventually acquired Keurig, and it became Keurig Green Mountain. And I think I would have to look again, but I think recently, like in the last 3 years or so, they fell under like a parent company. Like they were like
Yeah. Yeah.
It
was a group of investors led by
yeah.
maybe Capital.
I think it was like back in like 2014 or something. So yeah. So it was hard to like formulate my argument without having that information, because I already knew the case before we opened like before I opened the case. I already knew about this, like these two companies.
Yeah, cool. Well, then I can't disagree with anything in your not that I would have, but yeah, cool.
Yeah.
I'm just looking at these questions for after the negotiation. It wants to know, like, what was the tone, what actions were taken that were particularly effective. Telling the future was particularly effective. Did you walk through a per cup economic analysis? Not really, but they sell for 50 cents a cup. Wholesale is 25 cents a cup. Green Mountain spends 12 cents a cup plus 2 cents for distribution or whatever. Not much there. Major points of disagreement. Didn't really get that far. I think we would have landed in a similar place because yeah.
It's so funny. Like, so it talks about like the tone of argument. With the job that I have, we deal in ranching, we deal in cattle, we deal in commercial real estate, we deal in property management, we deal in like so many different things.
Mm-hmm.
And to see negotiations for some things, you know, even though they are all like on completely opposite ends of the spectrum, it's still very chill. But then when you come to like some of the ranch stuff, especially where water rights are involved,
Ooh.
it is extreme, the tone, and it's always very like it's very stressful. There's a lot of animosity, and tempers are like right below the surface, right? Like completely opposite than everything else. And so I can see how some business meetings might be like crazy, but for the most part, like I look at corporate business, even if you're passionate, I just don't think the tone's gonna ever be like as aggressive as like ranchers negotiating.
Yeah. Well, I think the difference is clearly like there's a limited amount of water and your ranch isn't moving anywhere, so it's really
Right.
Whereas like, some deals might be in a place where one party really needs it. Like maybe one company, maybe here Keurig is like so desperate for cash that they're really kind of backed into a corner.
Right.
Most of the time you could leave it and take the next deal and that's fine.
Yeah. I don't think in Keurig's case that they could have walked away from Green Mountain just because Green Mountain was so invested in them succeeding. And after all the setbacks Keurig had gone through, would there really be another deal with somebody who also believed in Keurig the way Green Mountain did? And I just don't think that was the case for them. I don't think anybody could have done for them what Green Mountain did.
Yeah.
So, and I'm sure, judging from like their ultimate like buyout of Keurig, I wonder if they were like, well, we just want to acquire the company and don't have the funds. So this is what we're asking of you. Or if that was on the table, then like, hey, we'll just buy you out. Like, we'll buy the company and that solves it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or if that was like established over time, like, hey, eventually we're going to buy you out. We'll just buy enough stock that we acquire you.
Yeah.
So,
I wonder how communicated that strategy was.
yeah.
Let's see. Wants us to talk about what would have been what would have happened if Keurig walked away, and what would happen if Green Mountain walked away?
If Keurig walked away, they would have been in a high pressure situation to either get the financial means that they needed or to find another partnership. Where did it go? Hang on.
They would have needed another partner.
Yeah, there was not enough money for Keurig to produce its own coffee. Like, they would have gone into the ground, so they would have been in a high pressure situation to find another partner who was willing to work with them, or they would have gone under. Like, they might have succeeded. Like, they would have, looking at what was in their bank account and their burn rate and how much they, like, not including what they owed vendors. Where did it go? Not including what they their burn rate. Let's see. Vendors aside. Whoops. Wrong way. I did the math backwards. Hang on. They wouldn't have lasted another year, as far as financials go. Uh, and so Keurig would have had to have found another partner had they decided to walk away. So they were kind of backed into a corner as far as their options. There's no way, and with the money they had, there's no way to produce their own coffee.
Totally. I think Green Mountain, they would have been fine. It seems like they were financially fit and had a good growth strategy, but obviously this was a golden ticket if they played it right, and they did.
Mm-hmm.
They would have been fine, but this was way better.
Yeah.
Have you heard of, this is unrelated, have you heard of Juicero?
Juicero.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
it's the next Keurig, or it
It's
wants
the
to
next.
be.
Okay.
It wants to be. Yeah. So picture the single serving coffee thing, but with juice. And all this thing does, you buy these bags of juice, you put them in the machine, and it squeezes it out into a cup for you. It might cool it down or something. It got all this hype because Keurig was so big.
Uh-huh.
It's like why are you going to pay $700 for this stupid machine when you can pop a hole in the bag and just pour it into a cup?
Yeah, seriously.
Pretty
That
funny.
makes
Just
me
kind of
think of
piggyback.
like the soda machine, Like
Yeah.
that's like when you're telling me that, okay, like so like the soda machine but juice, I don't know. And I don't think the soda machine's worth the money either. And a Keurig, like I drink a lot of hot cocoa and apple cider, but I
Mm-hmm.
would not spend the money on a Keurig when like so I have a Cocoa Motion, and do you know what that is?
Nope.
So you do the same thing. You got to put the water in the Keurig. You got to put the milk or the water in a Cocoa Motion. And the only difference is instead of puncturing the packet, I pour my cocoa in and it still mixes it and blends it and warms it up just like the Keurig does. And it'll do it with my apple cider. And so, like, I'll never spend the money on a Keurig, but I can see people who drink coffee and they're like, well, the cost of a Keurig and the K cups is like way cheaper than what they'd spend at Starbucks or whatever.
Yeah, and I never realized like I thought it was stupid too. Like, why are you paying for all this extra packaging? It cannot be that much more convenient than pouring in instant coffee. But reading this case study kind of made me realize that it is a better tasting cup of coffee because you don't have to clean out the equipment. You don't get
Uh,
like tastes from the past cup. It doesn't get stale, which I guess is a thing. Coffee gets stale.
yeah.
So I didn't realize that at all. So it kind of is making more sense why people like them so much.
Yeah,
I use one probably every day at my
if
job.
you're a coffee drinker.
Well, I have like the Swiss Miss.
Yeah, yeah. So the office next to me, the office next to me has we share so our company pays for the water cooler, but we don't have water hookups in any of our offices.
Uh-huh.
But our office next door has water hookups. So our paid for cooler is in their office. Well, their boss has a Keurig and he just leaves it in there and everybody can use it, but you have to like put money in for coffee. And I was like, okay, well, I don't drink coffee, so can I just bring my own hot cocoa cups? And they're
Yeah.
like, sure. And so I have apple cider and hot cocoa cups for at work. But like that's because I don't have time in the morning to get my machine going. But I'd also like if I ever leave there, I'm also never gonna buy a Keurig. But
Yeah.
like it is pretty great.
It's pretty cool. Yeah. I think it's just I wanted to get some just because it's like you've been working hard. Everybody gets out of a meeting, and it's like a big event. They all go get their nice fancy
Yeah,
drink.
yeah.
I was like, I want to do that too.
Yeah, yeah.
I'll have
That's
to
how
get
it was
cider.
at AT&T.
I've never had cider ones.
Yeah, oh man, and it's like good cider too. It's not like, like it's not like Walmart quality. Like when you buy something that like is Walmart brand and you're like, oh, I can taste the difference, right? Like it's really good apple cider. Like, but you have to like
What brand is it?
apple cider. Oh, I don't know. It's the only one you can buy at Walmart. Let me pull it up on their app real quick.
Oh, okay, I can find it now.
Yeah, it's the only one that I've ever seen at Walmart. That's apple cider. So
Cool.
it's good though. But you have to like apple cider. If you don't like, if you're just like kind of okay about it, then it's like meh, whatever. But if you like apple cider, it's a good cup of apple cider.
I like apple cider. I used to eat the packets just when I was a kid. Um. Okay, we talked about walkaways. It wants us to put values on each company. I don't really want to do that.
I just,
Do you have anything?
mm-mm.
How big of a deal is exclusivity to each party? I think it's huge for Green Mountain, but only to a point, because if your end game is to acquire Keurig or have a large stake in their success, then you don't want an exclusive deal. You want them to get as big as they can selling whatever brand. So in the current state, exclusive.
Hang on, sorry. 1 second.
Oh,
Go get a cheese stick or an applesauce.
And can I have that?
I'll think about it. Go get a cheese stick or an applesauce or both. Okay, sorry.
that's okay. I was just saying, short term, exclusive is better, but long term, if Green Mountain is going to acquire Keurig or have any kind of stake in their success, you don't want to be exclusive.
Right. Yeah. And I think Keurig knew that exclusive was the only way they were going to make that deal and be able to make the royalty that they wanted.
Mm-hmm.
And so, it like made me think about you remember when the iPhone first came out, like AT&T had like a 5-year exclusive deal, and then after that, like everyone could get the iPhone.
Yeah.
So that's like what I thought Keurig and Green Mountain, like you're gonna like want those exclusive rights, and then at some point, especially if you plan to acquire the company, you're gonna need them to like those rights are gonna need to expire so that they can expand to other whatever coffee, hot cocoa.
Yeah.
Side.
I bet being exclusive wasn't the worst thing in the world for Keurig either. Because,
Probably not.
I mean, looking back, we see, okay, it's good for Keurig, like for everybody to have K-Cups. But
Yeah.
for them, I mean, they were going to have their own coffee brand and sell just that.
Yeah.
They obviously weren't thinking everyone's going to use our system. So just switching from their brand to Green Mountain probably wasn't that big of an issue for them. I think you're muted.
Sorry.
Oh,
A
you're back.
call came through, and like because my Wi-Fi and my iPad are on the same network, I was like trying to get it to decline on my iPad. Anyways. Yeah.
Gotcha. I didn't say anything else.
Okay. I was like, go away, and like my iPad froze. Anyways. Yeah, no, I don't think it was so bad for Keurig either, because it gave them the opportunity to expand more than trying to produce their own coffee and everything else that would have come with going on their own.
Totally. And they were going to be exclusive either way. It's just, is it their brand or?
Yeah.
Let's see. How much does Keurig earn under True North? You said a tiny royalty, right? We kind of have a good answer now.
Yeah, it's like, I don't think it's more than a cent per K cup. Like,
yeah,
I know it's not, I don't remember if it's like half of a penny or a full penny, but I know it's not more than a penny per K cup. And let me pull it up real quick. And Keurig, I know it comes out to them making like over $500 million a year.
Wow.
And that's by getting like a penny per K cup because of how much is Keurig. How many K cups are sold a year?
That's crazy. And then they sell the machines. I wonder what percentage of their business that is. The K cup royalties go.
Oh yeah.
I don't know how many of those they sell. They have like all different kinds. The one in my office, I think, is thousands of dollars. It's like huge.
Probably, yeah.
Like a countertop one. I mean, it's on a counter, but it's mega.
Right. The one that my office had was like the lowest end and it started at like $250.
Oh,
Yeah. They make 0.062 royalty for every K cup. And they
is that
sold
cents or is that a percentage?
a dollar amount.
Oh, wow.
So less than a penny. So a little over half a penny, so 0.062. And they sold last year 8.4 billion K cups.
Man.
My calculator on my phone wouldn't even let me put in how many it sold because I was going to do the math on it real quick. Let's see.
I got this. Yeah. What was the decimal again?
This is how much they made.
Oh,
Is it backwards? It just hit me. It's probably backwards.
no, it's not.
500 and okay.
Wow.
That's just on K cups. Like K cup royalty earns them $520 million a year. Almost $521 million a year just on K cup royalties. And that's less than a cent per cup.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
I think that's all the questions that we need to answer.
Cool. I can't believe it's our last week.
I know. It's crazy. This semester really flew by.
It did. It went by really fast. Do you have classes next semester or?
This is my last one.
Oh, you lucky dog.
Done.
You lucky, lucky dude.
I know. I'm so excited.
I'm a little envious, not gonna lie.
Don't be
Like,
that
not
envious.
skin-worthy.
I just get to go be a slave for 40 years. Starts now.
It's officially over. That's the one thing I'm like, oh, I'm gonna miss grant money.
Yeah, that's nice.
Grant money. That little bit of cushion 3 times a year was really comfortable. Like, not that it was a ton of money, but it was a nice little cushion.
Yeah, I got with my extra. I came out pretty much even for grant money my last like 2 years of school. Had a little bit of extra for a vacation and some golf clubs.
And some golf clubs. We've had what do you call it? I haven't had to pay for books for like 2 or 3 semesters because it's all been online, like
Yeah.
content like this.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, but my first like 3 semesters, each semester I spent like $800 in books. And so I would hardly ever have anything afterwards.
$800 at this school?
Yeah.
Holy,
Yeah.
were you like a pre-med major?
No.
What the heck?
It was like before a ton of it was online. And so like there was like a Google domain I had to buy for one class and then like a Google Ads domain and that was like $100 and something. And then there was like I don't remember. My first 3 semesters, I was like, how am I going to survive these book costs? And then the last 3 semesters, it's like been no book costs. And I'm like, is that right?
Yeah, I've never spent. I might have spent more than $100 a couple times, but my strategy is that I just don't buy them, and then If I get to like week 2 or 3 and I am suffering, then I buy them. But usually,
Yeah, they'll
either like
the
yeah, there's an
class.
online option or something.
Well, so my macro econ class, that book was like almost $200, and there were none available to rent.
Oh yeah,
And
that was expensive.
yeah, and then I had an accounting book that you had to buy, and that one was
Online
expensive.
access.
Yeah. And then all my online access classes, that's always been like $150 for like that McGraw-Hill thing, which I hate that program. And
Uh,
so I've had a couple of them that like the single book has been $200. So yeah. It's not like a class that you can get away with. Like I had a business law class that like our homework was based on the chapters you read. So like that $100 book I had to buy. But then there's been other classes where I bought books and I've immediately returned them because all of our content for like our quizzes has been online.
yeah, there's been a couple times where like I did have to buy all the econ and accounting books because it's the online.
Mm-hmm.
There's been a couple times where I just, like there's been textbook reading, but I know what the subject is and I can read about it somewhere else and not pay. I don't know.
That's fantastic.
Yeah. Well, anyway, it's been good being in a group with you. Thanks for.
I know. Thanks. Thanks for a good semester. It's one of the best groups I've had.
Yeah, this 2-person group is the way to go.
Yes, definitely.
Much better.
All right. Well,